Hello everybody, how are you doing today? We're here today to discuss MMC's all built-in combiner component Volatus, which is their representation of Blastoff. Quite a nice thing. We'll get back to ARM mode later, but we'll just kind of transform it, chit-chat, hang out, and discuss the world of transforming toys. I'm going to turn it into a shuttle. Just make sure everything's lined up. Helps to have this stuff separated for now. I really like how they do the hands on these. Very clever. To have the two halves of the hands come together and then still be able to rotate to some extent. Maybe I'll forget later, so I'll just discuss it now. But, you know, this is the hand, you know, like this. This bit is in a channel, and so it can rotate nearly 180 degrees. But you see how it kind of rises up out of the channel. So it's got like a groove. The other one's doing something similar, and when you put them together, you end up with a hand that it lets you get into the proper combiner position. It doesn't give you much beyond that, and then really nothing in the other direction. So they give you just enough to kind of get it up into position. It'd be nice if it would rotate more, but then it wouldn't be all built in, you know? So we're going to put this stuff away. Since I'm going to shuttle mode, I'm just going to go ahead and turn these around. And likewise, I don't have to really evolve towards the primordial when I'm doing it between two particular modes. But I started out doing the primordial for these, and I'm sticking with it. Like the higher end triple changers like this, I think I'll try to find a primordial and make use of it. I guess the exception would be you could consider the Devil Savior split as like a higher end triple changer or quadruple changer, depending on how you feel about that gun turret mode. But that thing was such a pain in the ass, there was no way I was going to fuck around, or I'm sorry, mess around with a primordial. So there's shuttle mode on one side. I love this all built-in gimmick. I mean, it kind of limits the figure a little bit. I could see coming up with a better like blast-off robot mode. There's even an improvement in the shuttle mode I can point out, but the all built-in, I mean, that's what you always kind of dreamed about. Like the original toy certainly wasn't all built-in. It came with a bunch of accessories. Come on, man. Couldn't get a grip on that. You had to put on the fist, and you got to put on the feet, and you got to put on the chest, and you got to put on all the stuff. But, you know, when I was a kid, my favorite combiner torso was the Protectobots, because the head for that was actually all built in. And I thought that was really swank. I really liked that. But I think it's great that these figures, you can have 5 vehicles, you can turn them into 5 robots. There's even storage places for their weapons, but I mean that's technically parts forming when you put a weapon in their hands and you have to store it somewhere else, you know. But I mean, you could just have 5 vehicles, turns into 5 robots, and then without any other pieces you can turn it into a combiner, which is just fantastic. Everything I would want in a combiner. And it's the usual Ocular Max MMC design work, which is always so wonderful. I put this together a little prematurely. You have to fold these. I'll show you the hinge from this angle. But you have to get this out of the way, and then you can flip this up, and you can flip out the landing gear and get that out of the way. And then you can put this, hide that inside. And the thickness of this plate is compensated for by the thickness of these fake landing gear. I almost suspect that they put the fake landing gear in because they needed something to buffer it, and then they needed that something to look like something instead of just being some chunk of plastic. So that's my suspicion. I don't think they planned that from the very beginning. Because the fake landing gear is not that important for the aesthetics, but I could be wrong. I always could be. So we just get the thighs pressed together, and then just make sure you get all the other tabs pressed together. So I like to close these off and secure them with the waist flaps or the anyway. So I flip this out, and then I just like to very carefully bring these together so that they mate. The problem you run into is you can shove these down. In fact, I'll just do it. Oh no, it's all screwed up. And then you got to kind of start over. So you just have to be careful not to let these things get shoved down in the process of doing everything. And then to that end, I'm going to squeeze these together real tight so they won't go anywhere. And then I can put on these tabs without accidentally discombobulating them again. And then I like to stitch this up last in terms of the side plates. And then it helps to bring this out first and then flip out the wing. You can kind of pull on it by hitting this tab. Let's screw it up a little bit. So you see it sticking up there. You can kind of pull on the tab to get it to go. But it helps to have it go a little bit. This one's a little loose. I could throw some glue on it to tighten it up. And then this, I kind of worry about this because it's just like this little bit, this little piece. And you know, if you go this way, you're going to collide and not going to be able to hit those tabs as easily. And if you go this way, which I decided on, you do have to have this tab, so you have to bring it out just a little bit. You have to fight it out just a tiny bit before that tab pops into its hole. I find this side actually will kind of come loose, so you can see that. I think it's because when they put the screw that holds this little brown armature in, you can see how it operates. I think when they put the screw in, they got it at an angle slightly. So the whole thing is slightly at an angle. But I find that I can get it to stick if I squeeze it here and then kind of squeeze it near the joint. I can get it to kind of stay put. But it's not the end of the world. And then the landing gear, which I just kind of cheated out in the video because I didn't feel like showing it as like a separate step. Pain in the ass. But there's the shuttle. The only real problem, well, two problems with the shuttle mode that I could point out. One is that the configuration of the engines isn't like the space shuttle. There should be an engine right in the middle here. And also because these also turn into feet and also have to kind of fold away for arm mode, these are kind of not quite looking like an engine. The other flaw in this is the whole head section of this space shuttle should be here in comparison to the wings. So there's like kind of an extra section here that isn't, it's too long to be a real space shuttle. But it's pretty close. It reminds me of good old Avila Star is a fantastic shuttle mode as well. We'll do a little catch up on comments. I don't know. This guy is actually kind of small compared to the Zeta combiners, and the Unicron, I don't have any Zeta combiners, but the Unicron is, as far as I can tell, about the size of a Zeta combiner. So this guy, I've seen comparison shots with the Zetas, like the Zeta Bruticus. This guy's a little smaller. But I think they kind of nailed the scale for robot mode pretty good. So, no complaints. Well, he is a shuttle. Let's, what do you say we turn him into a robot? So we're going to put away the landing gear. And we're going to flip. These also, these landing gear can go away if you want a nice smooth. Ooh, I'm flying in space. We're in low Earth orbit. So we're going to make sure that this little tab comes loose, and then we can just almost immediately fold this so that it's out of the way. And we do the same thing here. Much like his brother Vortex, or whatever they called him, Impetus. Give you a little preview. That guy. Turning him into a robot mode requires a lot of extra steps, but not quite as many as Impetus had, so he's not too too hard to work with. I like to flip this open. These will actually collide with the wings, so you do have to account for them not being able to open all the way. I'll get into why I account for that. I'm just going to kind of squeeze this just to manage it. It doesn't much matter if these things popped in at this point, but I like opening these up first because it gives you a little space to pop these loose with. And then you can actually cheat these around. I'm just going to do it. You can cheat them around, but they do collide a little bit when you do that. So, but hey, I was thinking of it, got it done. Easy peasy. And then we're going to flip down these armatures, and we're going to flip these up and put these away. Now, some people that own this or have seen the instructions for it might notice a disparity. When I turn this thing into ARM mode, I do it like this, with these put away like robot mode, because I find these, I think it makes the ARM mode look a little better than trying to have these things mated up and then, you know, constantly getting depressed or coming loose when you try to manipulate the arm, because you know the whole arm is turned this way, and I just think it looks better, a little flatter, a little more out of the way, a little more sleek. But anywho, they're kind of set for leg mode now. I got to get them out of the way though, so I don't fold these all the way out 90 degrees, because when we open up the legs, we're just leaving space for those other flaps. And then we got to fold these things. We can get rid of the wings whenever we want to. How about right now? We flip this thing out. We flip out these. I like to get them completely out of the way. And then we're going to tuck these bits away and close it off. And now that we've done that bit, we can relock the legs. So that lock is only for creating room. It's a bit of a park because that joint doesn't do anything otherwise. Go ahead and put these away, and the feet, they just kind of flip out like that. You've seen it. If you're here for the live stream, I'm sure you watched the video. This pops out. Now it pops back in for arm mode because there's room for it, but in this case, the way the hands stitch together, there's a tab low on this hand and high on this hand. And these fins actually have little positioning notches that correspond correctly with the way the two hands are not quite mirror images of each other. You know, so this one has a notch here and this one has a notch lower down. I've done that a little prematurely because you do have to put this engine away for robot mode. So, see, even gods make mistakes. And this goes. But it gives you an idea how much leeway you have. This thing's really approachable. There are things you have to do before other things. Like now that I've got the legs all put together and I've got these tabbed in, you can't pop this anymore to put this stuff away. So you do have to do some things in a certain order or before other things. But that's it. It's pretty much the legs. His feet don't tilt. He doesn't have an ankle tilt because of the way he transforms, but no matter what position his feet in, you can kind of bring the toe down to meet the surface. So it's not too hard to work with otherwise. I should really catch up on comments. I'm sorry. Let's see here. Hey, I found your channel a few months ago. I've been hooked ever since. I was wondering, what is your all-time favorite figure that you own? I think my favorite is still G-Creation Ultra Maximus. He turns into a IDW style Optimus Prime. You'll just have to search for it on my channel. But I just love the staggering complexity of that, and the fact that it's like a real cube, a real box of a truck, and it turns into this beautiful wasp-waisted articulated robot. Very good. Yeah, Mirage is still kind of hanging out here on the shelf. That's TE, and behind him is MMC, one of this guy's squad mates. You haven't been on a stream in Wit? What's up, man? What's up with you? I'm doing a stream. That's what's up with me. How are you doing? I'm doing great. I always wondered why the Combaticons had a space shuttle on the team. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some people argue in a modern conception of the Combaticons, the space shuttle would instead be like one of those X-35 little micro space shuttles the military uses these days. That'd be a little more scale. At the very least, maybe the space shuttle should be the torso, but they weren't worried about scale. They just wanted it to turn into something. And back in the 80s when this set came out, the space shuttle was like the thing, it was super cool to have a space shuttle transformer. Let's see. How did you decide on the name? And the second is, how do you pronounce it? Well, I pronounce it Pilastru, and it's like it's a variation on the old store. Like these days we have like Rite Aid and Walgreens, but there was a store called People's Drug, and there's it's letters missing from the name. It's a word my friend came up with. He never seemed to use it, so I took to using it online because it's unique. Nobody else is coming up with that arrangement of letters, and I've just used it for years. I haven't considered having chat mods because I really don't have that many concurrent chatters. I'm not sure. I mean, the mods wouldn't be able to answer some of the questions anyway. In the cartoon, when Starscream built them, he used a Japanese zero as the body for it. Turned into a shuttle. LOL. Yeah. Anyone else here sad about Peter Cullen said about him not having enough time for his own Optimus Prime film? I guess I don't know anything about that. Sorry. The other people can answer. If you were a Tetrajet, well, I mean, they're supposed to be Earth vehicles. Anyway, let's do the upper body of this robot here. So I'm just going to tuck these away now that they're out of the way. So the first thing is we want to get a split here between the cockpit and the nose of the jet, and then this whole section folds down. You just want to make sure it's not tabbed in or anything, but it folds down just like that. I like to get these out of the way. You can turn them sideways. You can run them forward a little bit, whatever suits your fancy. It's really hard to get this flap open. I mean, contra the video where it just opens. It's hard to get a grip on it, but it's really easy if you just get the head to collide with it, and you can pop it open. For some reason, it has like this extra bit that flips around and turns into kind of a tail fin. I don't remember the original toy having anything like that, so I'm not sure why they did that. I think they just wanted to kind of dress it up and they had room for it. I don't know. You have to kind of bend this a little bit, the cockpit, but not too far because it'll start to collide, or you just got to go back the other direction anyway. But I like to get that in there. It'll kind of bump. You have to kind of adjust it to get it around, but we're just getting it around and then putting it back down. This isn't super obvious in the video, but you can see this little piece. I mean, I took like 6 pictures of it folding. 5. But it just kind of fills in the front there. I don't want to do it later because it just makes him look like he has a turtleneck or something. So we're going to split the front end, and we're going to fold this whole section open, and then we can bring down that. Very satisfying. Clicks in place. We can go ahead and do the back before we do the arms, I guess. But these parts fold down to make room for these parts. This comes up, and then we can fold these down. And then this folds down. You rotate this out of the way and put it back. Bring it back up. He has hands just like his brothers. I saw a video of how Probus transforms today. That looks exciting. Looks like it's not too simple, Get his hands arranged nicely. This just kind of extends. It's like a little double hinge. And then this folds down like this. This folds up like this. And you got an arm. Same thing over here. Fold out his hand. Arrange the fingers in a pleasing, natural way. I don't know. Kind of obsessive about that. And there he is. He actually has an ab crunch. He's as articulated as you would want him to be. I'm not going to... You can watch a reviewer go on and on about, like, oh, I guess 90 degrees or 89 degrees. Who cares? Most of the time, they're just going to be standing anyway. Not everything has to do superhero pose. But I like having those points of articulation, even if I don't take them to the max, because it lets you create like kind of a nice, relaxed, natural-looking pose. He's got ratchets on light ratchets in his hips. It's nice. They aren't used for the combined mode really at all. He comes with some accessories. He comes with an alternate head with a single visor instead of 2 separate eyes. I like the 2 separate eyes. He comes with, of course, with his little handgun. It can kind of fold up and go inside the bay of the shuttle, like before you put those 2 flaps down, but I don't really mess with that. And it comes with their very good directions. I like their directions. They do pretty good. Anyway, so that's a robot mode. Any more comments? How do I have time for the stop motion? I have it down to a system. And so generally in the evenings, I'll just kind of sit around and play. I mean, I was going to do that anyway. If I get a new figure, I'm going to sit around and play with it. I mean, the whole thing starts with me sitting around playing with it and being like, well, I figured this out completely. Maybe I should share that with people. And maybe my hands shouldn't be in the way. And maybe the robot shouldn't float out of frame like they do. So the stop motion is just to convey the transformation sequence that I've come up with. A lot of times I end up deviating from the instructions because the people that make the instructions aren't necessarily spending a lot of time with this, or they don't grok figures as much as a fan would, or I don't know. Who can say? So I have it down to a system. Once I have it all worked out, I can go down on Sunday morning, spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours, depending on the complexity of the figure, taking all the pictures. And then I put the pictures upstairs and spend another approximately 2 hours editing them together into a sequence and then posting the video. So generally, like this guy, I started at like 11:30 a.m. this past Sunday. The shoot went very smooth because he holds all his positions well. I don't have to figure out how to arrange him. Post-production went really well because I didn't have to hold anything up with something I got to erase in Photoshop. I'm sure there's a better way to erase stuff, but I just don't bother because I know I get the result I want doing it the way I do it. Apparently Hasbro filed a lawsuit on Unique Toys. Well, that's kind of interesting. They'd be hard-pressed to do so. I mean, Unique Toys, the big thing is they're making competing MPM figures. And I would imagine Hasbro would want to sue them just because Unique Toys is just embarrassing Hasbro with their far superior designs and their far superior aesthetics. I'm sure that's very embarrassing for Hasbro, and Hasbro wants to lash out and fight them on that. But something that looks like Last Night Megatron is not something Hasbro can copyright. So my understanding is they can't really go after them. The only reason they went after Unicron was like a delaying action. They wanted to finish their campaign to raise funding for their thing before the deadline, and they didn't need some other company coming in and being like, hey, we got a better Unicron that looks better. I mean, it's not as big. Who cares? But it works better and looks better. How long does an episode take? So, like 4 hours. Yeah. Fun fact, the cartoon head had a single visor because the forehead was miscolored as a visor and his eyes had cheeks. Okay, I see it. Yeah, Dragoon is great. Yeah, so I think my plan here is all of these guys got like a nice individual treatment. And so I think Probus, the final figure, deserves kind of the same thing. So I think that weekend I'm going to do like a Probus transformation video, and then, that's the Probus video. And then the following weekend, I'll spend a little more time editing because I'm going to have to basically resurrect all of the sequences for these guys that go from, I think, vehicle to combiner mode. Isolate those and put them in a new video where they go in sequence. So I'll have to take some footage of like all the vehicles kind of hanging out, and then I'll, just do I'll do like a fade to black. Yeah, that's funny. I'll do like a fade to black cut where I just reiterate the sequences I already shot for these guys. So I'll just pull out those sections of video, put new music to them or whatever. And then I'll have to also shoot that weekend. I'll have to shoot them kind of combining, and then I want to have them initially combine in like the default mode with like no booties on. And by booties, I mean like there's these feet from the upgrade kit that you can make the feet a little more bigger and impressive. So what I want to do is maybe do like a turnaround with him in like the default mode, and then sneak in, replace like the chest with this toy-like chest instead of the regular chest. And, you know, do once more around. Because I really like the toy-looking version, because for me, it was the toy more than the cartoon that I concentrated on. So having the entire chest be silver, I'll show you what I mean. The default, he has like the cartoon look, where his chest looks like a bit of the space shuttle and stuff. But you can replace that with the shinier toy-like chest. Anyway, so I'll probably finish with him in the toy-like configuration, where he will remain forever sitting on a shelf until I take him down and play with him. Which I will, because it's awesome. Everything's all built in. Yeah, parts forming for me is like, it's not so bad when it's a combiner and you're like, all right, well, you got to put on the fist. I'm used to this from my childhood. It's fine. I really hate it when a figure, just a regular, you know, transformer that goes from an alt mode to a robot. I hate when you have to parts form for that. It's like, what's going on here? Why couldn't you be smarter? And then there's like Fans Toys, where it's like, it's basically a parts former, but they held it together with a piece of string. So you're like, oh, it's not it's still held together. It's got this piece of string holding it together. I'm surprised they don't just use like jewelry chain or something to hold it together, because like, why bother? Clumsy. I go on and on about them. Sorry. So I'm just going to start heading back to robot mode here, or arm mode. Boom, 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 boom. Just make sure all the pins line up when you put these back together. And then when we put the head away, we're just going to go part way, like 45 degrees. And then we're going to rotate this around and just kind of tease it through that area, and then lock it in before we lock it in. This goes in here. These flip around, straighten his head a little bit. These just go on either side of the head and disappear inside. And then we flip this up. And we've done the front half for the combiner. Remember, one of these on mine is kind of loose, so it takes a little cajoling to get it to stay put. Not the end of the world, but I wish they had put that screw in straight. I hesitate to try to remove the screw and like try to put it in straight myself, because it's already marred the hole. So it's not so bad now, so why make it worse by screwing with it? This is going to stay like that. So this goes up out of the way. This has to be out of the way a little bit. I don't know if it has to be, but I like having it out of the way. Yeah, I mean, this thing could probably get in there, but it has to scrape pretty close there, so that having that out of the way is helpful. This kind of unfolds in half. I probably got the saturation a little too high. The purple's not quite that blue. I suppose I could fix it. What do you say? There you go. Plus, this is a webcam. It doesn't capture purple quite right. This locks in. This rotates down, which is pretty clever, and then re-flattens in this position so that it's flush, so the arms can go back together. Super clever. I really like how they handle these things. And now this has to turn into an arm. Get that out of the way. Get this out of the way. Flip out the hand. Put away the thruster. Flip this down and flip this down. Flip this down. Make sure it tabs. There we go. All right. And then we bring the arms together. You've seen this before. I like to fold this down like that. Fold these down. It helps before you pull these down when you have the clearance to flip this part, because it does impinge a little bit on that area. before it gets into position, and then you can fold them down. All right, and then we'll rotate the arm as appropriate. Get the fist right. Get the arm in grasping mode, you know, however you like. And then we'll mount the arm. Let's see if we can do this. So there's a retaining bar. He's out of frame. I'm sorry. Let's just. There's a retaining bar that you have to kind of flip up. So you see that hook goes up out of the way. And then this slides in like just super easy. It's not like some horrible like chunk where you have to click it in because they came up with a locking mechanism. In fact, I think some of the bigger figures, the knees, instead of being ratchets, which are prone to damage and having to pull too hard on the figure or whatever, I think larger figures should have a locking ratchet joint. In other words, a gear that rotates on one half of the joint, and then the other half of the joint has like a, I don't know, some kind of pin that doesn't bounce on the gear, but like locks in. Like imagine the gear has like square holes in it, and this thing plugs into the gear. And that way you have to unplug it, rotate the leg, and then re-plug it. But it would manage the weight of a larger figure better than trying to do really heavy ratchets. I mean, the ratchets on that Unicron are pretty hard to rotate the knee, the hips and stuff. Yeah, I've seen the gray prototypes for the what Takara is calling version 2, because what we call version 2 was like a pretty minor variation on the original MP11 mold. So I would agree with Takara in that nomenclature, because it's definitely more of a version 2 than our version 1.5, you know. But version 2 looks great. I look forward. I always enjoy Takara's design work. You know, they have their ups and downs. They're not perfect, but I think they do a really good job. But this guy's pretty beast. I can put the leg on, but it's kind of hard to stand him on one leg. But I'll do it anyway. So I'm just opening up this. We're just gonna. That's right, it helps to articulate this, put it in place, and then there. And then this goes up like this and locks it in. This goes down like this and actually plugs into the leg. It's something to show in the combination video. I don't know if I can get him to balance on one leg. Probably, because he's pretty versatile. But I mean, he's a big boy. You can tell by the size of my hands. Here's TE Mirage. Most of you are familiar with the standard Masterpiece scale cars, so that should help you kind of picture it. But he's, you know, he's real tall. Get a light up on his face. But he's a big boy. Not quite as big as a Zeta, but especially with his booties that increase his height a little bit, he's going to be pretty impressive. I don't know where I'm going to put him. I don't really have a cabinet that fits him properly without removing something else. But, you know, nice joints. It's going to be very nicely articulated combiner. You can really bend the knee like 90 degrees, and you can go into a stance. You know, this is it's going to be pretty cool. Pretty spiff. Anyway. Go back down so you can see what I'm doing here. Hello. All right. But again, just like the arms, this isn't like some super heavy duty like chunk ratchet. They've just got it so that it locks in. It's pretty well thought out, you know. I like that. Because I've got other combiners, and sometimes it's like, you know, like the original Bruticus, what was his name? Warbitron. That thing was pretty hard to put some of the joints together. I'm gonna be careful pulling back so he doesn't fall off my table. That would make me cry. You watch a grown man cry. Yeah, sorry, Lila. We're not allowed to talk about that. Swivel Man, red dress. Yeah, sorry. You gotta stop that, Lila. Also, COVID delayed Toy World's The Last Night Optimus. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That masterpiece Optimus Prime was a bit of a disappointment. I didn't think so. Oh, you're talking about Toy World's Last Night Optimus. Yeah, we haven't seen that yet. Yeah, it was a good quip, Lila, but YouTube blocks it, and I'm not willing to fight with them about it. A quote from some song, perhaps? I don't know. Try to get a nice... Get him in view for a nice picture. YouTube, pick this picture. This is the picture, YouTube. The add-on set comes with a nice big version of a gun. Folds up for storage. And the handle can change from this guy sized to combiner sized. Put his hand. That's Biffy. It's a bit blocky, but better than everything else that's been released so far. Yeah, I don't know, Shark. Are you talking about this? He's a bit blocky. I don't know. Yeah, I know. You were talking about being disappointed in MP44. I am not. I think it's a really cool design. I think it's well painted, well articulated, like super articulated. I mean, that's one thing where Unique Toys kind of falls short, because Unique Toys has these really clever designs, but they don't have great ankles. I would say Peru, Kill, Challenger, and Dragoon all have issues where you can't really pose them super dynamically because you don't have functioning ankles. I mean, that's because they're using every little bit of space to like pack stuff away, including the feet. But it limits its articulation. There's no one pulling the articulation like Takara is. And I think MP44 is a really clean design. I like it. I mean, the backpack's a little big, only complaint. Everything else is cartoon perfect. Yeah, the Toy World, Last Night Optimus has its flaws. The vehicle mode is super flawed. So I'm going to just stick with Challenger. I'm not going to bother with that one. Well, that's true, Infamous. I wouldn't argue with that. I transform the figure. You know, I'm a transforming figure kind of guy. And the trailer and all the accessories mean nothing to me. So you're right. I would say the trailer and the accessories, based on the price of MP49, which is just the cab, the Nemesis version of Prime, that one is about $250 retail, whereas Prime was like $450 retail, which tells me that the trailer and all the accessories were like $200 worth of stuff. I paid the tax to get the figure, but I can agree with that opinion. I don't need... If they had offered just an Optimus Prime for $250 instead of $450, I would have just bought that instead, probably. I don't know. Sometimes you get dragged into that, like, oh, I gotta have the trailer. I mean, it's a real nice trailer, and it's got really nice features, and it's really cool, but I don't know if it was worth $200. Bye, Lila. See you later. Both MP44 and MP45 have backpacks that just ruin the whole figure. I don't know about ruin the whole figure. Maybe for you, that's fine. MP44 in particular doesn't have that bad a backpack. It's just concentrated in that one area, and it looks smooth and has it looks like a chunk. I'd agree on MP45. His backpack is a little sloppy. Like, I thought in all those pictures we saw of MP45, I'm like, surely this is mistransformed, because you can almost see where the back, like where the stuff could stack a little tighter, and you're like, oh, it's just mistransformed. It's gonna stack tighter. It doesn't. It doesn't stack tighter. It was kind of a disappointment there. That's quite a nasty little backpack. But the MP44 Prime backpack just doesn't bother me that much. I don't know if they had to do it that way. It is like the thickness of the bumper, so there is like some logic there. Unless you want to fold the bumper up in some different way that might increase panel lines on the bumper and not make it as shiny and smooth. Maybe they wanted to leave room for the electronics from the get-go, and so everything was designed around including electronics. I don't know. I could do without the electronics. I could see, like a variation of that design where the front of the truck folds up a little differently and flatter. It could happen. Yeah, the minifigs weren't. They were kind of annoying because the limbs like to fall off. Those ball joints that small are going to be hard to. It's going to be hard to set the tolerances for them so that they're the right size to mate up properly. So it's a little iffy. I pick up legend scale figures from time to time when I'm kind of taken. Usually I'll see like a video about how they transform and I'll be like, oh, I see. It has to be really clever and like worth it. Magic Square does a lot of stuff that I'm like, ooh, okay. But DX9's small figures are kind of nice. I don't think I have any Iron Factory figures, but they look nice. I just haven't ever gotten one. Toy World's Alt Mode doesn't really bug me. I still prefer Challenger, but Toy World's looks like it holds together well. The proportions are just very off. Yeah, it transforms. I'd be interested in handling it. Maybe TCP will loan me one, and I'll transform it for you guys. But I'm not gonna spend money on it. I got Challenger, and I'm happy with Challenger. I'm done. I mean, there was what was it? I forget the name. Alien Attack Elseed is apparently just an atrocious figure. Like little. It's not technically a parts former, strings all over the place. And I was tempted to get it because, it's on sale places for like $60 or something. And I was like, maybe I should get it. It's infamous. Everyone fucking hates it. I'm sorry. Everyone hates it. So why wouldn't I just get it and transform? But I've never wanted to because it looks like I would hate it. What is the most frustrating figure for you to have to transform on camera? Well, the worst time I had was probably Devil Savior Split. That thing's it's really hard to show like how it's hard to come up with a there is no sequence that doesn't have parts rubbing. Like there's clearance issues that you can't get past, period. So that's frustrating about that figure. The dance you have to do with the little spindly legs to like turn them between the different modes, real idiotic, real painful. I'm not a designer, but I could imagine a much better design for the legs. And Split wouldn't even can't even really stand by itself. It's like oof. I mean it turns into a awesome Devastator head, and that's the mode it's in, and will probably be in for the rest of the time I own it, because I have no interest in transforming that back into a vehicle. The vehicle wouldn't be too bad. You can turn it into a vehicle pretty easily from head mode. But I don't want to turn it back into a robot. I don't want to deal with it. I think I'm getting the rest of the figures. I've got the leg guy, the long haul. What do they call them? I don't remember. But I got long haul like on the way, but it's going by boat, so it'll be here someday. It's not a high priority figure for me, so I didn't worry about the shipping. Yeah, Split is a lot like Fans Toys. It's just very ad hoc. They just like, we need to move this part here. We'll just put a couple of linkages, and now it's not a parts former. And yes, Max, it so to speak, it killed my camera. My camera happened to die on splits when I was getting ready to turn around the robot mode. It was the last part that I was going to shoot, and the camera died and wouldn't shoot anymore. The shutter died. In fact, it's this poor camera right here. The shutter died. I keep meaning to send it off to like a camera repair shop so I can at least have a spare camera, but I keep forgetting to do it or putting it off. But it just happened to die right before the turnaround. So if you watch the Split video, I actually acknowledge that. I'm like, there would have been a turnaround here, but my camera died. So enjoy this picture. I'm East Coast, so the time on my end is just shy of 7 p.m. No, Scavenger is not next. I agree with you. The first color pictures we saw of any of the other robots was Scavenger, but their long haul has leapfrogged Scavenger and made it out into production before Scavenger. So Scavenger has not been released yet, and their long haul is on the way, so it has been released. Yeah, no, that's one of the reasons I got long haul. Of course, the videos for that kind of come out before it gets released. So when Shozy Store said you have to like pay off your balance for this figure that's incoming, I decided to go ahead and do it based on the videos that I'd seen of it, where I was like, well, nothing could be as bad as Split. Nothing could be as bad as that thing. So, yeah, in Britain it's midnight. Yeah, sure. Well, does Britain have more than one time zone? Because UTC in Britain should be 7, 8, 9, 10, should be 11 p.m. So if you're at midnight, then you are in Eastern Britain? You correct me if I'm, I mean, you're where you are, but I know UTC, we're -4 UTC here on the East Coast because of daylight savings time. Unless it's -5. Good Lord. I mean, daylight savings time happens during the summer. So is London like a time zone east of Greenwich? Where's Greenwich? Okay, you got me all curious now. Now we're not talking about robots. We're talking about... Yes, sir. Gonna find... It says Greenwich, London. Huh. Well, that's confusing. Huh. Now I gotta see a time zone map. Or does London also do you guys do daylight savings also? Is that what's happening? Yeah, because I mean during the winter we're like 5 hours different. But I guess I don't know. It says UTC falls through all of the Isle of England, or the Isle of whatever the island's called. Time in London. Yeah, you're 5 hours different from us. Which means you're not on UTC either. You're doing some sort of daylight savings? Is that what's going on? Yeah, I realize that now, Infamous. I was like, where is Greenwich? Oh, it's in London. Got it. That must be where the observatory is. So you guys are also doing daylight savings. I didn't realize that about England. Or Britain, or whatever you call yourselves. Yeah, no, their Scavenger is a little weak in terms of how it manages the treads. I thought the Studio Series actually did a really good job of managing the treads. The original Scavenger toy had a really clever gimmick where the treads were like rubber treads that actually worked, and it would expand into a round wheel. Pretty clever design there. Yeah, Scavenger looks like a weak member of the team, but... as long as it triple changes, it's a triple changer. It has to turn into a body that's holding all the other bits together. So I'll cut him some slack for the modes being a little weak on account of it being a triple changer. So we'll be winding down soon. Want to make sure you guys have a chance to get any final questions or statements. Yeah, just in my mind, because of UTC or Greenwich Mean Time, I always just pictured Britain being on Greenwich Mean Time because they're the standard. It just hadn't occurred to me that they are also on daylight savings, that they're an hour off of their own Greenwich Mean Time. The add-on set also comes with a different head, a more toy-like head. Because this has kind of like a derpy cartoon head. I prefer the toy head. It's got a little more detail to it too. Opens up just like the other one. And it comes with replacement flaps for the middle guy, the Onslaught, so that when they're folded out, they can be silver too. My wife tries to tease me. She's like, "Oh, so you can dress up your doll?" I'm like, yes, that's what I'm doing. Thanks for dropping by at the end. So you gotta answer me, Infamous. Are you guys also doing daylight savings? You must be, right? I just want to know. Just say, yes, daylight savings. I don't know. Yay, work let me join the live stream today. Looks like I've missed most of it again. Yeah, sorry, buddy. I'm just doing the live stream on my own schedule. People can use it later for reference if they want to see, like, hands transforming the figures. Sometimes that can give people insights into how to do things, how to get the right leverage or whatever. Certainly when it transforms itself, it almost looks a little too easy. That one guy out there doing the quick transform videos, he's doing real good with that. I should have just done that instead of doing all this work to do stop motion. What's this weekend's figure? Yeah, I mean, Infamous, I assume you are at... +1 GMT? That doesn't make sense either. I don't understand. Why is it midnight in Britain? I don't get it. Oh, because we went +1 from -5. We went from -5 to -4. That's +1. So Britain must go from GMT, like 0 to +1. So there's still a 5-hour difference. Yes, thank you, Infamous. Now I don't have to go insane. What's on the weekend schedule? I got Overload, so I'm going to shoot Overload, and then probably just make part of that, just dive right into combining them together. I don't want to get all fancy. There's no second video for that. You know, you would think I would do MPM Starscream, but I just don't see how I can. I did a video specifically for it, a live stream where I show you how to transform it, where you run into problems, but that thing does not lend itself to stop motion. In fact, if I had to go back, I probably wouldn't have bothered to split either, but I was obligated to. At least in the case of Starscream, I bought it at Target, and so it's just mine. I don't owe anyone anything for that. One of the fins on my upgrade kit chest piece broke off. Yes. In fact, I can show you. ¿Dónde he estado? Mine also broke off. It's a known issue with the piece. The paint got it stuck, and then I think it got broken in the fact because I barely even touched it and it popped off, and I was like, well, that ain't right. That is like a known issue. MMC is aware of it, and they've been releasing replacement chest pieces. I finally got mine from Show Z. He came with this guy, and so now I have a chest piece that, you know, actually folds and doesn't get stuck and doesn't break. It'll break right now. No, it didn't. So yes, I had exactly the same problem, and if you just you know, harass your vendor, they can eventually get you a replacement chest piece. TF Source should certainly be able to replace it. They exist. Replacements do exist. I mean, unless Show Z cut me a solid and just pulled a good chest piece out of like another set, but I don't get the impression they do that kind of thing. They don't want to bear the expense. You know, they're going to get the piece from the factory and then they're going to send the piece to you. But I don't know, maybe they did. You have to ask around, see if other people have been getting replacements. I've just been having a wonderful time. The lockdown doesn't affect me. I still go to work. I still go to stores. I have to wear a stupid mask, but whatever. It's not even a masterpiece in my opinion. It's legit upscaled studio series with some... the transformation on the MPM Starscream is pretty different from the studio series. In fact, the studio series actually has a cleaner plane mode because it's based on that deluxe that has the really clean plane mode. I would have liked for it to be an upscaled version of the studio series. That would have been nice. I don't think it's masterpiece because it doesn't nail the alt mode. It doesn't look like a F-22. Even from the top, you can see stuff. It's not even a clean mode from the top. Same side too. Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, maybe it really comes down to being... I mean, I could have used it. I put it on upside down. There we go. Just turn it over. I could have used it, you know, like it would have been here, but I couldn't have done like a transformation video of it or anything, you know, because it doesn't really fold. But this other one I got, I mean, definitely doesn't suffer from the same problem. It's the paint isn't too thick, and you can actually just fold the joint. Can you show us how many cm is from feet to head? I don't know what that means. Oh, centimeters. I don't know centimeters, man. His foot would be about this tall, so it's 1, 2. So it's about 18 inches. So you convert that to centimeters. Yes, I have MPM Ratchet on pre-order for Target, and so I'll get that. It's kind of bad too, though, because it's not a 4-wheel drive vehicle. Who ever heard of a 4-wheel drive vehicle with 1 centimeter of clearance? It's kind of a sloppy design too. But it kind of nails the movie look, you know, like the robot mode. So I guess it has that going for it. I felt the same way about Ironhide. It doesn't have any ground clearance. What kind of 4x4 vehicle is that? There's no ground clearance. It doesn't turn into a 4x4 vehicle. It turns into a brick that's kind of disguised as a 4x4 vehicle. All right, gang. It's getting roundabout time to have dinner. It's already 7:15. I enjoy our discussions, but we might have to table any further discussion for another time. I appreciate everyone stopping by. I like seeing the old faces and the new faces, or the old avatars and the new avatars. See you later, Shark. See you. That's pretty much it. You can leave comments on the video later on when the replay of the live stream posts. And look for the big Devastator video Sunday. And then after that, I don't know what I got. Maybe I'll do a studio series, what's his name? Sentinel. I've got that. I like the studio series Voyagers for videos, so I might pick a studio series Voyager and take pictures of it. I could do MP9 Rodimus, although it just always shames me that I don't have the trailer. I've got other back catalog things I could do. I've got, you know, other cool, like, Transformers Prime figures that I like to show off. Maybe do a Transformers animated figure. I mean, I've got a big back catalog I can dip into if I run out of fancy stuff. But that long haul from Devil Savior is on the way. The Probus for this guy is on the way, although the tracking still shows that they only know about it. They haven't actually picked it up yet, so it's still sitting on the loading dock at Show Z. But it's supposed to go via airmail, which means it's only 2 weeks away or 3 weeks away. But I got a pretty good deal on it, so I just had to stick with them. Plus, you know, when I do the full combined mode, it would be nice to just attribute one sponsor or one company for... I bought all this shit from them. They do have good prices. Well, the next stream is next Wednesday. Please do more Prime. Oh, you Transformers Prime, you like those? There's some really clever designs in Transformers Prime. I've done 3 of them, 4 of them. Although, you know, Bulkhead I did a long time ago. I could redo Bulkhead. I wouldn't mind that at all. That's a clever figure. But there are other Prime figures we could explore. We could do Transformers Animated. There's lots of figures that I could do. And I just kind of pick out the really clever ones. Like Transformers Prime Viacon is not a complicated figure, but I love the way the top rolls up inside his calves. Super, super fun. See you guys later. Heading out.